In the mountains of Afghanistan lives a people who look nothing like their neighbors. DNA explains why. The Bamiyan Valley, central Afghanistan, home to the Hazara people for over 7 centuries. The Hazara have distinctly and unmistakably East Asian features: epicanthic folds, broad cheekbones, flat nasal bridges. In a country where everyone else looks West Asian or South Asian, the faces are unmistakable. In a country of West Asian features, the Hazara look distinctly East Asian. Place a Hazara face beside a modern Mongolian face, and the physical resemblance is immediate and unmistakable. The same bone structure, the same eye shape, 7 centuries apart. For centuries, the Hazara have been told they descend from the armies of Genghis Khan. The claim was treated as legend. Then, geneticists tested the DNA. The legend was true. In 1221, Genghis Khan's army destroyed Bamiyan. His grandson was killed in the siege. The Khan ordered every living thing in the valley slaughtered. After the destruction, Mongol garrison troops remained. They settled in the valleys and married local women. The Mongol army swept through Central Asia with devastating force. Afghanistan was not just conquered, it was garrisoned and permanently occupied. The mountain passes of Afghanistan were strategic choke points. Mongol commanders stationed permanent garrisons to control every major route. Mongol-era military artifacts found across the Hazarajat confirm permanent garrison presence: arrowheads, horse equipment, and camp remains. The word Hazara may derive from the Persian word for thousand, a reference to the Mongol military unit of 1,000 soldiers. A military origin story preserved in the name itself. DNA would confirm the soldiers never left. Rahil Kumar and colleagues published the first major Hazara genetic study, Y-chromosome analysis of men across Afghanistan and Pakistan. The East Asian ancestry is specifically Mongolic in character, not Chinese, Korean, or Japanese. The genetic markers point directly to the Mongolian steppe. Mongolian geneticists working at the Mongolian Academy of Sciences have independently confirmed the connection from their end. The Y-chromosome results were striking. Over a third of Hazara men carry haplogroup C3, a lineage virtually absent in neighboring Afghan populations, but common across Mongolia. Haplogroup C3 is the signature of the Mongol expansion. It spread from Mongolia to Eastern Europe following Genghis Khan's conquests. The map tells the story. C3 follows the Mongol invasion routes precisely, and the Hazara sit directly on one of the most heavily garrisoned routes. Multiple independent studies, conducted by teams across 3 continents, have confirmed the Mongol genetic signal in the Hazara. The finding is among the most replicated results in Central Asian population genetics. Each new Hazara genome confirms the same pattern: 1/3 to 1/2 East Asian ancestry in every individual. But Y chromosomes only trace the male line. The full genome told an even more complete story. Autosomal DNA analysis confirmed roughly 30 to 50% East Asian ancestry in the Hazara. The Khan lineage appears in an estimated 16 million men alive today across the former empire. The Hazara carry it at some of the highest frequencies outside Mongolia. The microsatellite markers within the Hazara Khan lineage match the ancestral Mongolian haplotype with remarkable precision across every sample tested. Neighboring Pashtuns show less than 5% East Asian ancestry. Tajiks show virtually none. The Hazara stand at 30 to 50%. The genetic boundary is sharp. On the genetic map, the Hazara fall precisely between East Asian and West Asian clusters. The Ayamak, another group with possible Mongol ancestry, show roughly 15%. But the Hazara signal is 2 to 3 times stronger. A larger or more isolated founding group. The Ayamak may descend from later Mongol or Turkic migrations. The C3 star cluster is the single most specific and reliable genetic marker directly linking the Hazara to the original Mongol military expansion. Found at high frequency in Mongolia and in Hazara men. The genetic map of Afghanistan shows the Hazara as an East Asian island in a sea of West Asian genomes. The boundary is one of the sharpest ethnic genetic transitions documented anywhere. The Y chromosome data revealed another connection, one that links the Hazara directly to the Khan himself. In 2003, a study identified a Y chromosome lineage carried by 8% of men across the Mongol Empire. Tatiana Zerjal and colleagues estimated this lineage originated with a single man living roughly 1,000 years ago. The timing matched Genghis Khan perfectly. The Hazara carried this specific lineage at elevated rates, consistent with descent from soldiers in the Khan's own army. The Hazara homeland sits at the strategic center of the Mongol Empire, a natural garrison point where troops would have been permanently stationed. The army that conquered Central Asia carried the Khan's genetic legacy outward from Mongolia. Soldiers who fathered children across every territory they occupied. The Mongolian steppe, the ancestral homeland. Hazara DNA traces directly back through an unbroken paternal chain. Modern Mongolians and Hazara share enough genetic similarity that commercial DNA tests frequently match them as distant relatives. 7 centuries later, but the founding was not purely male. The maternal DNA reveals the other half of the story. Mitochondrial DNA from Hazara women shows a mixture of East Asian and West Asian maternal lineages. Even footwear traditions show the unmistakable ancestral connection across 7 centuries. Hazara boot construction mirrors Mongolian steppe designs. 7 centuries of parallel evolution from a shared starting point. The Salang Pass and other mountain corridors were the strategic corridors the Mongol garrisons were stationed to control. Strategic military geography determined exactly where the Hazara garrison communities settled permanently. Traditional dairy processing techniques match Mongolian pastoral traditions. Fermented milk made using methods from the steppe. Roughly 40% East Asian maternal lineages, 60% West Asian. The Mongol soldiers brought some women, but also married local women. The genetic evidence describes a military garrison that became a permanent settlement. Soldiers marrying local women over multiple generations. The Y-chromosome shows more East Asian ancestry than the mitochondrial DNA, classic signature of male-biased migration. Soldiers arriving without families. This pattern appears wherever armies settled permanently. Male invaders marrying local women. The Hazara case is the textbook example. Among documented conquest populations, the Hazara show one of the most extreme sex-biased founding patterns. A military origin written clearly in the contrast between paternal and maternal DNA. Mongol fathers, local mothers, and 7 centuries of relative isolation that preserved the distinctive Hazara appearance. Horse culture remains central to Hazara identity. The equestrian traditions of the steppe adapted to Afghan highlands. The Hazarajat, the mountainous central highlands that became the Hazara homeland. Geographic isolation reinforced the genetic distinctiveness. The Hazarajat sits at over 3,000 meters elevation, surrounded by mountain passes that isolated the community for centuries. The highland pastures sustained a pastoral economy. The Hazara raised sheep, goats, and horses. Hazara textile traditions show unmistakable Mongol and Turkic design elements brought from the Central Asian steppe. Material culture confirming what the DNA already proved. Musical traditions powerfully echo the steppe origins of the founding Mongol soldiers. Hazara instruments share design features with Mongolian string instruments carried across Central Asia during the empire's expansion. Uskashi, the fierce horseback game played across Central Asia, remains central to Hazara culture. But the Mongol ancestry has been both identity and burden. The Hazara have been persecuted precisely because they look different. The Hazara have faced centuries of persecution in Afghanistan, enslaved, massacred, and displaced. Their Mongol appearance made them visible targets. The Taliban specifically targeted the Hazara as a religious and ethnic minority. Their Shia faith made them visible. Today, Hazara diaspora communities exist across Australia, Europe, and North America, carrying the Mongol genetic signature to new continents. Melbourne hosts one of the largest Hazara diaspora communities outside Afghanistan, over 50,000 people carrying the Mongol genetic signature to Australia. In the diaspora, Hazara identity has become a powerful source of pride rather than a mark of persecution. The Mongol heritage embraced rather than hidden. A new generation of Hazara scholars at universities worldwide is now researching their own extraordinary genetic heritage. Military artifacts, linguistic evidence, physical appearance, and now DNA. Every line of evidence points to the same conclusion. In the most remote villages of the Hazarajat, families still live as their ancestors did. In the diaspora, the Hazara identity remains strong. The diaspora carries the same genetic profile, East Asian ancestry visible in their faces and measurable in every genome tested. The Hazara case is extraordinary because the genetic evidence matches every other line of evidence perfectly. Historical texts describe the Mongol garrison. The language preserves Mongolic vocabulary. The physical appearance is unmistakable. 4 independent lines of evidence converging on the same conclusion: history, linguistics, physical appearance, and DNA, all confirming the Mongol founding event. Dawn in the Hazarajat. The mountains that sheltered an army's descendants for 700 years. This child's face, in these remote Afghan mountains, carrying the genes of warriors who rode from Mongolia 700 years ago and never went home. The Hazaragi dialect of Dari contains hundreds of Mongolic words. Words for horse, sword, and family structure trace directly back to medieval Mongolian. The soldiers' language survived in fragments within their descendants' speech. Every generation passes the traditions forward. The Mongol heritage encoded in DNA, language, craft, and stories. Even religious practice shows the layered identity. Shia Islam practiced with cultural forms that carry echoes of pre-Islamic Mongol and Central Asian steppe traditions. 700 years after the Mongol invasion, the evidence is written in every Hazara face. In the shadow of the empty Buddha niches, the Hazara continue living on the land their ancestors conquered. His face could easily belong to someone walking the streets of Ulaanbaatar in Mongolia. His home has been Afghanistan for 700 years, and his genome carries both histories simultaneously. The oral traditions always said they came from the east. 700 years of sunsets over the Hazarajat. The army arrived. The army stayed, and every generation since has looked eastward in its DNA. The valley Genghis Khan destroyed in 1221 became the homeland his soldiers' descendants would defend. Somewhere in these mountains, 700 years ago, Mongol soldiers looked at the valley and decided to stay. Their descendants never left. If you enjoy evidence-based stories where genetics proves what faces already suggested, subscribe, drop a comment. The Mongol army conquered half the world. How many other populations carry their DNA without knowing it? 700 years of genetic preservation. The face of Mongolia still visible in the remote mountains of Afghanistan, and the DNA to prove every generation of the connection. The army came. The army stayed. 7 centuries later, Afghanistan's mountains still carry the Mongolian genetic signature. The cliffs endure. The faces endure. The DNA remembers what written history nearly forgot.